this material that we're learning, it's not just information. It's not just, a nice time for us to get together and schmooze. I mean, this is life transforming. This is cosmos transforming. As we remember with the Torah, we learned from Rav Dessler and the conversation between the Arizal and his Talmud, Rav Chaim Vital, like every little step, every little movement we make in the direction of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, we have no idea of the ripple effects that can have in our lives and the lives of our loved ones. And just to do a quick review, and then I want to go forward. So we're talking about this relationship with Hashem, that we want it to be, as the Rambam described it, right? We're meant to be shogaba, meshugana, walking around like infatuated with Hashem, or as Bilbavi calls it, we're meant to have a palpable, sensing relationship with Hashem. So what's the problem? Like, why aren't we, walking around as Rav Noah, that's how I would say, obsessed with Hashem? And we pinpointed at a very powerful Yetzer Hara, right? We described a couple weeks ago from the Slonim Rebbe, and the way he described it, I don't have it in front of me right now. I do actually have it in front of me. So let me just read it to you in his words real quickly. I didn't scan the first page for you again, but I just want to read his words. He says, of all the adversities that a servant of Hashem experiences, more than every seduction, every desire, every lack of motivation, the greatest adversity is in the area of awareness. One is constantly assailed by forces that cause confusion and the reduction of awareness until one's service remains in a contracted and small-minded state. Remember, that was the Slonim Rebbe from the Tiva Shalom. So what is the Slonim Rebbe telling us here? That because this is the it of all its and the end of all ends, and there's absolutely positively nothing, if I haven't convinced you by now, nothing more important in our lives than having this palpable, sensing, lovesick relationship with Hashem. So of course the Yetzer Hara is going to absolutely spin us in circles and keep us so busy and so distracted, even doing seemingly good things, even doing mitzvahs. We could be running around from morning till night doing chesed. But you know what? If we're doing all of those things and we're not connecting to Hashem in the process, right? Remember the Slonim said at the beginning of the essay that the value of one's service is measured according to enlightenment of mind, that is one's awareness of the blessed Creator. Yeah, so that means for all of the things that we're running around and doing, if the Yetzer Hara is keeping us so busy that we're not plugging into the fact that, as my teacher Rav Svirsky would always say, Hashem is right here, right now, we're missing it. We're missing the whole point. We're missing it entirely. Hi, who just popped on? Let's find out who's here. Want to say a quick hello?
It's Gitty.
Hi. Who's that? Hi, Gitty. Oh, good, you made it. Great. Welcome. We moved to from Canada, right? Where in Canada? Remind me again. We're from Montreal, right? Did I say that? Yeah, I think from Montreal. Anyway, welcome, Gitzi. Okay, so we're just doing a quick review. So then we saw the Ramchal and the very powerful source from the Derech Eitz Chaim, and he says, you want to know the way to beat this Yetzer Hara? There's only one way, the Ramchal says, to beat this Yetzer Hara, and he says consciousness, right? His words are, when one's consciousness is broad, right, that there's no way that Yetzer Hara, one could never sin. Because why? Because if I'm aware, if I really had consciousness, if I had total, as we've been calling it, and we're going to define more this evening, if I have das, if I have this cognitive, emotional awareness that Hashem is right here, right now, how could I possibly sin? How could I ever do anything neged Ratzon Hashem if I was truly, truly cognizant in an emotional way? Remember the Slonim Rebbe said it has to be emotional and intellectual. Right? The das is both in our mind and in our heart. I have to have this complete, total feeling and thinking that Hashem is right here, right now. And when my consciousness is broad, right, I would never come to sin at all. Yeah, and then he says, so what is the key? How does one get this consciousness flowing, he says one must contemplate, right? That if I don't have it in front of me, but if you look back at the Ramchal, right, if one doesn't contemplate, he says one will be left in darkness and fog, and he'll have to give accounting at the end of the day, right? When we get to, God willing, Admei V'Estrim, we're going to have to give an accounting, din v'cheshbon, to Hashem. Why didn't I use the koach that Hashem gave me, right? Because as the Ramchal said, Hashem put in us the ability to be conscious. And it can't be that Hashem would demand of us to be in this relationship, and not demand of us, that sounds very harsh, but would want us and truly wants us to be in this relationship with him, right? If he didn't give us the wherewithal to really have a genuine, palpable, sensing relation. So as the Ramchal says, Hashem put in us the ability to be conscious, but what? It is closed up like a coal, right? But we have the ability, he says, to bring it out, and that's what we're going to learn how to do going forward. So then we said, so this consciousness, right, we've defined as das, and the Slonim Rebbe again defined very clearly for us what this das is, that this das is, again, it's both emotional and cognitive. And then he said very powerfully, right, if you have this das, right, you lack nothing. And if you don't have this das, then you don't have anything, right? So, again, what does that mean? It means if I really, really, truly walked around with the consciousness of Hashem is right here, right now, and everything that's going on around me, as we said last week, is Hashem speaking to me. And if I could just learn how to pop into that awareness at will, then I have everything, right? Then I really have everything. And if I don't have that, then that's what opens up the doors to all our problems, to all the Yitzaharas, to all the frustration and the anger and all of the things that trip us up in life, is when we don't have that consciousness. And we also saw a beautiful source from Rav Wolbe where he calls this das, he calls it the makom siyata d'shmaya. And that was a very, very powerful source. It's a makom kedusha, that just the Hashem, he put into us this das. And we left off, I think, last week answering the question, so where does this das come from? Right, again, we said it's not something, you go to your local makolet and say, can I have some das, please? Right? It's not something we can buy. It's not something that we really acquire, but it's something that Rav Wolbe pointed out to us, and we saw also in the Chumash from Parshas Eschanan that on a national level, right, we experienced this das at Har Sinai, right? What the pasuk says, the harata ladas, that you were shown to know. In other words, I don't know. On a soul level, we are all there. I can't say that I personally remember the exact experience, but we are certainly children of those who stood at Har Sinai. And on a neshama level, we were all there. And what does that mean? It means that on a national level, I personally experienced this reality of Ein Od Milvado. Right, and as the Mefarshim says, Hashem opened up the heavens. He opened up the seven rakiyas. There was this crystal-like clarity over our heads. We could see from one end of the world to the other. There was no doubt in anyone's mind whatsoever, Ein Od Milvado. Everything is Hashem. It's all Hashem. Right? So we inherited this. This is inside of us. But what? But again, it's covered up like a piece of coal. And our job really in life, also if you listen to my Hanukkah Torah on my website, which I just sent around, I go through how, the baby, the fetus, when it's growing in its mother's womb, right, that also there we receive das on an individual level where the Malach teaches each of us our own personal Torah. I won't go through that midrash all right now, but it's on my homepage, the Hanukkah share they gave a couple years ago. And so that's where we, so to speak, receive the das on an individual level. So this das is again, it's something that's inside of us. It's something I inherited in my mother's womb. It's something I inherited as being part of the Jewish nation. And now really what I have to learn how to do is I have to learn how to access it. I have to learn how to make contact with this das that's inside of me. right? And in so doing, as we've defined for the last 3 weeks, this is the key, because remember what Rav Pinkus said, when you think about Hashem, you're with Hashem. So if I want to learn, I want to know, how can I have this devekus, how can I have this palpable sensing, Hashem is right here, right now relationship? I have to learn how to plug into my das. Right? I have to learn how can I know Hashem. Right? And also das, I don't know if I mentioned this or not last week, but das, the first time we see the word das in the Chumash, it's when it says Adam knew his wife Chava. Right? And the Mefarshim say there that Adam knew his wife Chava, that it's a language, it's the language of intimacy. Right? That it's the first time Adam and Chava were together in an intimate way. And the Torah is pointing us here to, again, that to have this das of Hashem, it's meant to be, it's meant to be close. We're meant to be in this intimate, palpable, remember Dolvavi, he says on the cover of his book in English, manual for an intimate and personal relationship with our Creator. So this is meant to be intimate. This is meant to be personal and real. Chule v'chule. Okay, so now, that's by way of review. I guess I'll pause for a moment. Am I going too fast? Or I'll pause and breathe. Any questions before I move forward? That was by way of review. Any questions? We're good? Okay. So now that we know we have this das and we've defined it, so I need to know how I want to be able to access it, right? But the one thing I want to point out is that this das, so again, even though it's inside of me, it's not my natural state. Yeah, in other words, it's the reason that I am doing all these classes, and the reason that I went on this whole hunt for the knowledge of God, as my teacher Rabbi Niven would always call it, is because this is not our natural state, right? You don't naturally walk around with this feeling of Hashem is right here, right now. If we did, there'd be no free will, right? It would compromise the whole relationship, because remember what we said in the very beginning, that the more we work at the relationship, the more the relationship is going to be real. So if it was just so clear, right, and I didn't have to put any effort in whatsoever, because I just was always walking around with, I could see Hashem with me all of the time, and it was so obvious and so clear, there would be no effort, there would be no bechira, there would be no schar. So this das requires effort, and I want to actually show you inside. So if you can, turn to the first source that I scanned for you. It's actually the page 2 of the Slonim Rebbe that we looked at last week. So again, this is from the Tiva Shalom. And I'm going to read now where it says the last paragraph, the awareness. So someone type on it. You hear this, Nadia? You're always good at having sources you ladies have in front of you?
Yeah, I'm still getting it, but go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, you hear this? You have it?
Yes, I have it.
Anybody? Okay, great. Okay, anybody not know where I'm reading from? I'm reading from the back of the Slonim Rebbe, page 2. Okay, the awareness that we are speaking of, and if there gets to be too much background noise, tell me, and I'll do a group mute, okay? The awareness that we are speaking of here is not one's natural state of awareness, but an awareness that one attains through effort. Okay, and then I'm going to skip the next from the Devorah Shmuel. He's commenting on a verse from the Devorah Shmuel. The verse means that one cannot serve Hashem through awareness alone. Rather, this until we arrive there. When we arrive at awareness through effort, only then will enlightenment carry one's service to the highest levels. Okay, and then he says this effort includes practical actions and deeds in the service of Hashem. Okay, so now, and then I'll just finish the last sentence. In order to attain an enlightened mind and heart, one needs to put forth persistent effort. Right? Underline the word persistent. Right? So you know what? I am hearing a little bit of background, so I am going to do a group mute. Hold on one second. Okay, so again, what I just did is a group mute. So there won't be any static or background noise. But if anyone at any point, please has any questions whatsoever, do a *6. So Rachel, if you want to pop on *6, and then you'll be able to ask your question. Okay, so again, this is not our natural state of being. We have to put in effort, and as we said earlier, the more we put in the effort, the more meaningful the relationship is going to be. So I want to just take actually a couple minutes to define. I mean, this whole workshop is going to be describing what this effort is. But I want to just say for a couple moments, what is this effort? What is a couple examples of this effort that we want to put in this relationship? And I want to take the opportunity at this point to once again say that an absolute prerequisite for this class is you must own an MP3, an iPod, something that will enable you to not just hear these shiurim, which you should review over and over and over again, but that you should be listening. You should be listening and listening and listening. That we're living in a generation these days where no matter how busy we are, we always have downtime. We always have time where we're in carpool. Here's Bela. She's on her way, driving her kids to the dentist, and she's popping on. Good for you, Bela. Right? And I'm sure when she's, driving home, she pops on her MP3 or her iPod, and she's listening to shiurim, right? Because Bela's an alum, and she's been doing this with me for a year already. So, but you have to be listening. Don't only listen to me. And if you're relying on this once a week call as the effort, this is an effort. I know people are taking time out in their day to come and to listen and to participate, and that is an effort. And again, as the Arizal said to Reb Chaim, every little gesture we make in the direction of Hashem has infinite cosmic values. I don't want to take away from that effort, but there's so much Torah out there. It's unbelievable. And when I started doing my own personal hunt for the knowledge of God, I realized, I need to, put this all together somewhere. So I did. I created a website, Baruch Hashem, with tremendous siyata d'shmaya, goddirectora.com, and I just put it out last week for Hanukkah, and it's all free downloads, and you can listen to, there's just, everything is on there. Rav Weinberger, and go to Reb Noach Weinberg and listen to his 6 Constant Mitzvahs series, and Rav Berkowitz on the 6 Constant Mitzvahs. And if you don't want to write down all these suggestions, I give you a whole recommended reading and recommended MP3 list and community of resources. And you can go to becomingdivine.com, and I could just go on and on. There is so much Torah. As confusing as this world is, Hashem has given us the antidote that with just the click of a mouse and the click of a button, it is so easy. And if anyone doesn't know how to download shiurim from the computer onto their MP3, I've done one-on-one tutorials just to teach women how to do this, because that's how important it is. Yeah, so this is absolutely essential. There's always time, whether we're in the car, whether we're walking somewhere, whether we're folding laundry, whether we're doing dishes. I don't mean your kids are, you need help, they need help with their homework and you're tuning them out and you're plugging into a shiur. That's not what I'm saying. When my kids are around, I, put my MP3 down and I try as best as I can to be with my kids. But when they're in school, when I'm doing errands, when I'm doing housework, I hate doing housework, but I listen to Torah. And now I love doing housework. I love doing the dishes Motzei Shabbos. I used to hate doing the dishes Motzei Shabbos until I figured out, what, this is like a perfect opportunity. My kids won't bother me because they know I'm doing the dishes and they'll do their own thing. And I can sit and I can listen to Torah for an hour and a half while I do the dishes. It's gewaltig, right? So there's absolutely no excuse to not be constantly. And if you want, again, go to my website. If you want me to personally tell you what I think are my favorites, I'm happy to. Send me an email. Ask me what's my top 3 things that I suggest to help you get started. I honestly think listening to Reb Noach Weinberg, that's how I got started, and there's no one that epitomizes this avoda better than Reb Noach. That's all. So that's the first effort, right, is to just listen and learn and upgrade your daf. Right? That's really what we're doing when we're listening to all these shiurim, right? That the more we download this information, right, and we create our own personal database of all of this das, we will, so to speak, upgrade our das. Okay? So that's the first effort. The next effort that I want to suggest, and really this is what we're going to come to learn how to do in the whole workshop, is we just define that the number one yetzer hara of every seduction, of every right? How does he say out of every adversity, right? The greatest adversity is in the area of confusion, right? So what is that saying? It's saying that because the greatest Yetzer Hara is spinning us in circles and keeping us so busy, so the greatest effort that we're going to have to learn how to make is the effort of not making effort. Yeah? Like, allow that to digest for a moment, right? The greatest effort we have to learn how to make is we have to learn how to stop, right? We're gonna learn over the course of however many weeks we're together, we're going to learn how to get quiet. Yeah, because if the whole Yetzer Hara, if the whole, again, it's our personal life coach, right, raising the bar, pushing us to beat him. If the whole purpose of this Yetzer is to spin us in circles with all this noise and all this static and busy, and I can't think clearly, and the whole way that I'm going to connect to Hashem is only if I can think clearly, and I have the clarity and I have the das. So the biggest effort that I'm going to have to learn how to make is how to stop, right? How to stop, how to get quiet, how to go inside. And I actually want to share with you an amazing insight that hit me just a few minutes ago when I was davening mincha right before giving this class. And for whatever reason, Hashem just popped into my head this insight that it really fit beautifully with this point that I'm expressing right now. And that is, if you think about it, right, how did Hashem create the world? We say that Hashem created the world, right, through this act of tzimtzum. Again, I'm not going to describe exactly what that means, and I don't really understand it myself, and that's very deep Kabbalah. But suffice to say that there was so much Hashemness, right? There was no room for a universe. So Hashem had to, so to speak, pull himself back or create the illusion anyway of pulling himself back, right, so that what? To make room for a world, right? So it's as if Hashem pulls himself back to make room for us, and guess what? We have to pull ourselves back to make room for Hashem. Yeah, that was a beautiful insight that Hashem just popped into my head about a half an hour ago. But that's, and really when we do that, we're emulating Hashem. We're going to come to see that the gold of Vekas is when we not just feel Hashem's love, but we learn to be God-like. So one way that we can be God-like is Hashem, in order to create a whole universe, he had to kiviyachol pull himself back. And to create all the stars and all the galaxies and everything, right, that our eyes can see, this whole vast universe. So too, if I want to, so to speak, peer into my inner universe, and there's a universe, Rav Wolbe says that just like as far as your eyes can see the outer universe, you have an inner universe inside yourself, right? We have an inner space. There's outer space and there's inner space. So Hashem pulls himself back to create outer space. I have to pull myself back in order to access my inner space, right? So that's how we're going to come to really make contact with this das, which is buried deep inside of us. And the only way I can come in contact with it is when I learn to get quiet. I'm going to learn how to calm my thoughts down. We're going to go through this whole avoda step by step. I'm just giving you a little peek into it. But that's going to be, ironically, if that's the right word for it, the greatest effort is going to learn how to stop running around doing so much effort. And as we're going to come to see, the more we do that effort, the more our lives are going to everything that you're going to see, your whole realm, your whole arena of hishtadlus is going to shift. Yeah? So that's by way of what do I mean by effort. Now, any questions on that? Maybe somebody just do a *6, so I have some breathing interaction going on.
I just wanted to say that was such a beautiful Kiddush.
Yeah, you like that? Admonish.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Thank you, Nadia. That was like, Hashem just really just popped it into my head. I'd think, well, I should have been focusing on my minchas. I've been focusing on my, you are where your thoughts are. But I guess if I'm like trying to dive into Hashem and that thought came into my head, then I guess I hope that's a good thing. Anyway, thank you, Nadia. So going forward. So we talked about where this das comes from. And now I wanted to spend a couple minutes discussing again why is this das so important. Okay, so I want to share with you a couple sources that I did scan last week, but we didn't get to it. And so if you did already copy it, printed from last week, the next one is the Rambam. We're talking about the Rambam's Perush on Mishnayos. And this is a very, very powerful makor. I'm going to just read it. I guess for time's sake, I'll read it quickly in English. But he's answering the question now. So if we just said, okay, so das, right, das comes from the harata ladas. We know where it comes from. So why is this das so important? Yeah? And the Rambam is going to just say it. I'll just let him say it in his words. He says the following: the purpose of man is to make use of his intelligence to acquire knowledge and understanding of the unity of the Creator. May he be exalted and praised. Okay, the lesson in the Hebrew. I'll just continue with the English and then I'll read the Hebrew. All other fields of knowledge are useful only in that they bring a person to a greater knowledge of the Creator. Again, all other fields of knowledge, all das, all knowledge, everything, all science, all math, all. He's saying all other fields of knowledge, they are only useful to the degree that they bring a person to a greater knowledge of the Creator. Okay, the lesson in Hebrew is, let me just find it real quick. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm not finding the Hebrew phrase that I want. Oh, let's find it. Here we go. Right, hasagas achdus habore. Right, that's underline those three words in the very beginning of Gadol. Right, that the purpose of man, the greatness of man, is hasagas achdus habore, right, which is to grasp the unity of his Creator. We're going to define, if not tonight, I think we're going to start to define tonight. What does it mean, achdus habore, or yichud Hashem? But that's it. That's what the Rambam is pointing us to, is that this knowledge of Hashem, right, this knowing Hashem, this das, is all, this is it. It's the purpose of man. It's the purpose of man to make use of this intelligence. And what is man meant to do with this das? To acquire knowledge and to know Hashem, right? So basically he's saying the whole purpose of having this das is to have a greater understanding of what does it mean, Yichud Hashem. Now go down to the next source on the same page. Remember we said at the very beginning of the series, right, when the Rambam brought in Hilchos Tshuva the whole idea of this shogaba, and we're meant to be meshugana and love with Hashem. What he didn't answer there, so how does one come to love Hashem? Like how do you do that? This is infinite being. How can I come to love Hashem? So also in Hilchos Tshuva, right, if we were to just continue from where we left off before, he gives the answer. So he says the following. I'm skipping the first couple lines, and I'm going down to where it says one loves. Okay, so skip 1, 2, 3 to the fourth line. Okay, he's commenting on what does it mean with all your heart, with all your soul. So he says, one loves the Almighty only with the knowledge with which he knows him. And according to the knowledge will be the love. If a little amount of knowledge, then a little love. And if a great amount of knowledge, then a great love. Okay, so again, to love God is to know God, right? You want to know, how can I come to have this palpable, sensing, heartfelt relationship with Hashem, right? How can I be meshugana, shogaba, infatuated in love with Hashem? So the more we come to know Hashem, the more we will love Hashem, right? So now you're probably asking me, well, okay, so how do you know Hashem? Like, how does one get to know Hashem? They can't, go on a shidduch and say, hi, Hashem, I want to get to know you, right? So actually, before I answer that question, because that's really the question that we need to answer, if the whole crux of how to love Hashem is to know Hashem, then I have to know what does it mean to know Hashem. So I wanted to share with you one more source from Yirmiyahu, actually maybe two more sources, before I answer that question. And go to your next source on the source sheet. I think it's source number 3, where it says know me on top. And this is from Yirmiyahu. And this is an extremely powerful source. We actually read this as the Haftorah on Tisha B'Av. And if we think about it, right, the whole what is Tisha B'Av, right? Tisha B'Av is the severing of this connection that we had, right? Because we strayed from Hashem and we strayed from His Torah and mitzvahs and Sinas Chinam and all of the reasons, right, why Hashem destroyed the temple. So in many ways, this connection was severed. So we read this Haftorah, right, on Tisha B'Av because Dafka, this is what we need to bring the relationship back, to create that loving relationship that we had when we had the Beis HaMikdash. So just to fill you in on the context, I didn't scan the whole source, but basically this is where Hashem is saying to the prophet Yirmiyahu, right, I'm not interested in your karbanos, and, not that I'm not interested, but more than I want your karbanos and more than I want your empty words and chule v'chule, there's one thing that I want from you. I want you to listen to me. I want you to heed my voice. Right? So let's read the Hebrew and then we'll translate. So the prophet, the Hashem continues saying to Yirmiyahu, Ko amar Hashem, Al yitalel hacham b'chachmaso, v'al yitalel hagibur b'gevurato, Al yitalel ashir b'ashero. Right? So what is he saying here? So says Hashem to the prophet, that a wise man should not take pride in his wisdom, and a strong man should not take pride in his strength, and the rich man, right, should not take pride or should not glorify himself with his riches. And then continuing in the Hebrew, Ki im bezot yitalel hamitalel, haskel v'yeda oti, ki ani Hashem. Okay, well, only with this, right? Only with this may one glorify himself, contemplating and knowing me, because I am Hashem, Osei Chesed, Mishpat, Tzedakah, continuing, Ba'aretz, Chule v'chule. Okay, so what is this saying here, right? This is an extremely, extremely important source. I remember when I first heard this on a shiur from Reb Noach Zatzal, I was like, wow, that's really powerful. I have to teach this over to the ladies. So what is Yirmiyahu teaching us here? That what does it mean? Don't take pride in your strength, and don't take pride in your riches, and don't take pride in your wisdom. What's the message here? The message is you know what? At the end of the day, we can't take pride in anything. We can't take pride in our talents. We can't even take pride in our children. We can't take pride in our strengths. We can't take pride in our wisdom. We can't take pride in our wealth. We can't take pride in anything. There's nothing that I can truly call my own and pat myself on the back for except for one thing. There's only one thing that I can pat myself on the back for at the end of the day, and I can say, that I can be proud of. What's that? Haskel v'yeda oti. Right? To what degree did I devote my life to getting to know Hashem? That's it. That's it. That's what Yirmiyahu is pointing out to us. That is the only thing that we are allowed to, quote-unquote, pat ourselves on the back for, be mitalel, glorify ourselves, take pride in, is to what degree did I put effort into getting to know Hashem? Haskel v'yeda oti, ki ani Hashem. So, that's such a powerful source. And we also see from Chazal a very famous statement that we're all familiar with, right? Hakol min hashamayim chutz miyirat shamayim. It's really saying the same thing as Yirmiyahu. What does that mean? Hakol min hashamayim chutz miyirat shamayim. Hakol min hashamayim. Everything is min hashamayim. Right? As we said last week, every conversation, every situation that I'm in, everything that's going on around me, it's all Hashem talking to me. Right? My talents, my riches, my chokhmah, everything. Hakol min hashamayim. Everything is from the shamayim except for what? Right? What's the only thing that I, quote unquote, have any control over whatsoever? My yirat shamayim. Right? What does it mean, yirat shamayim? So the Sifrei Kodesh, the Sifrei Kabbalah, and the more of the Hasidic interpretations, the Slonim Rebbe and the Piyazetz Rebbe and Chole v'chole, they say don't look at it yira as fear, but read yira as seeing, right? So if you read in right from Lirot, right, Lirot Shemaim. So if you read in that more, call it a Hasidic Perush on that famous Chazal, everything is from Shemaim except for what? Do I see Hashem? Right? Do I see Hashem? Or remember, as we saw from Bilvadi last week, a person's entire avoda is to bring Hashem into the picture. Right? Do I see Hashem in whatever situation is going on around me? That's it. Right? That is the only thing that I have any control over whatsoever, is to what degree do I bring Hashem into the picture. And really the accurate way of saying it is Hashem, of course, is in the picture, right? Hashem is right here, right now. The whole world is filled with Hashem's glory. Olam like Frodo. Hashem is in the picture. I'm not in the picture. Right? What does it mean I'm not in the picture? Because I'm so distracted and so confused and so busy, and my thoughts are like spinning in circles, and I'm not there. Right? Because as soon as I'm in the picture and I can bring myself to a space of consciousness, oh, Hashem, you're here. Hashem never left. I'm the one who left. Right? So when we say a person's entire vote is to see Hashem, is to bring Hashem into the picture, it means I need to bring myself into a state where, again, I can switch myself in an instant from being unconscious to being God conscious. Okay? Is that clear? And that's it. And that's really, honestly, that is the realm of our free will. Right? Or as I like to have said in the past, I think I said this in a previous year, the only thing I have control over is to what degree do I realize that I have no control. That's it. Right? Everything else, Hakol Mina Shamayim. The only thing I have control over is, do I bring Hashem into the picture? Do I see that it's really Hashem talking through me, talking to me, talking through me, right? Talking through me also. That, you know, I just also, even just within the last week, actually, I started a new avoda that I hit upon when learning this piece from Rav Wolbe with my husband, and he talks about how having this das, right, that how it impacts your midos, and that really the greatest devekas. I didn't bring the source for you, but I want to just say it outside quickly, that when we really have this das, that we really have this conscious awareness of Hashem is everything, and that Hashem is speaking to me all the time, and chole v'chole, that when you have this das, that's going to begin to affect your midos, right? And then I can really start being God-like. Yeah, because that's really the highest devekas. So when I said, you know, God is always talking to me, but God is also speaking through me. So just last week I started, you know, a different tactic, which was, it used to be, you know, when I was facing a frustrating situation, I'd say, like, Hashem, help, right? How do you bring Hashem into the picture? I'm going to teach you all different kinds of tools that I've learned and tried, true, tested tools of how to bring Hashem into the picture. But, you know, if all else fails, help, right? You know, but it's more of like Hashem, calling out to Hashem, who's, so to speak, out there, who needs to come from the outside to come and rescue me. And from reading this piece of my husband, this Rav Wolbe piece that I showed you last week, it hit me like, I don't need to just, I mean, yes, I need to call to Hashem who's out there, but I also need to, like, learn how to call to Hashem who's inside of me, kiviyachol. So actually right after I hung up the phone with you ladies last week, my kids went berserk, probably because I had to be quiet for like 2 hours. So I walked out of the room, and they were going berserk. They were spinning in circles. It was like absolutely, it was the most staged. It was unbelievable. It was completely staged, right? So I tried all my, incantations. Hashem is right here, right now, and Hashem help, and Hashem you love me, and nothing was working. And then I paused, and I was like, wait a minute, stop. I was like, Hashem, how would you handle this situation right now? Yeah? And I just said that. Remember we saw last week in the piece from Rav Wolbe, right? How do you get a sechel yashav atahar? He says the minute that you're pona, right, the minute that you turn yourself in the direction of Hashem, in that moment, he says your sechel, your mind is clear and pure. So normally I call out to Hashem who's like out there. But this time I called out to Hashem who is in me. And I said, Hashem, how should we handle this situation? Right? And again, bing, everything shifted. The whole scene shifted. My daughter, who was like going completely ballistic, just stopped. She stopped what she was doing. She got up. She benched. Like scene over. Like, it was amazing. And this was just a week ago. So I'm constantly being what's the word, amazed by the Siyata Dishmaya that one can access simply by being pona, just pointing yourself in the direction of Hashem.